Dan, thanks so much for joining me today. Big fan of your work. I've been looking to you for the last probably 4 years now for kind of sales advice. And I think you've actually been, I don't know if you know this, but you've been a key part of how Mailshake actually works. I've been like, hey, how do you do sales? Is this the way people are doing it? So look, I know a lot about you. It would be great just to introduce yourself for the audience who doesn't.
Yeah, totally. Started out as a mechanical engineer, built something, no one wanted to buy it, got to figure out how to sell it, and kind of spent the rest of everything in sales. And really excited about the sales development space right now. I think there's so much amazing technology that like automated cadences with things like Mailshake and data. And it's the intersection of like sales and marketing, and it's a really exciting space to be in right now. Yeah, so I run the sales development team at Culture Amp, and that's across 4 offices. And we've been doing some. I think we've been doing some really cool stuff. So excited to talk about it today.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about some of the stuff we talked about beforehand. So the interview really is about follow-up emails and follow-up in general. So let's talk about just really a high-level approach. Like, what's your kind of thoughts on or your approach that you found successful in doing follow-ups, whether it's phone, email, in person, whatever?
Yeah, totally. I guess I kind of take a different view on it. I think like the industry is, and it's right, is you got to think about activity and frequency of interaction. And I guess it's the same with marketing. You see a brand or whatever, but you have those interactions and then you go on that journey and eventually you purchase, if it makes sense. And I think we need to take that sort of thinking and bring that into sales development, and certainly the prospecting side of things. I think the pendulum swung the wrong way, where like we're doing a ton of activity that's quite frankly annoying, for prospects, and it's not a great experience. So whilst I completely agree with activity metrics and, frequency of interactions and staying persistent and getting in front of the prospect, I think there needs to be a lot of thought given to the experience that the prospect's having on every interaction. So it's like the interaction design. In the same way, we've spent so much effort on the product side in terms of like building beautiful products and thinking about the interaction and the user experience, and definitely on the marketing side. I think sales development and the prospecting, sales prospecting, we need to like take that thinking and mesh that into what we're doing today.
Interesting. You're the first person who's mentioned like sales like journey, right? It's kind of like the buyer journey on the marketing side, or the onboarding or the UX user experience that someone has. So that sales experience, how do you, I guess like that's a big concept. How do you go about like orchestrating like what a good experience would be, or how does that kind of relate to when you actually try to put it in action?
Yeah, right. It's a nice play. It's a great idea. Yeah, how do we do it? We've been thinking about that for the last year and a half here. But I think it's really good to kind of start as like to start with that, like with our team. Like it's like, hey, we got to do activity. We got a number to hit, but I want you to really think about what it feels like to be getting this. And so as we've unpacked and like held that tension between activity and experience. You kind of like break it down into each touch in a sequence, and think about it like the psychology of it. And it's about the reason to follow up, I mean, how many emails do you get from someone that says, do you want a demo? Can I get 50 minutes of your time, Sujin? I've got this cool new marketing technology I'd love to show you. And are you there yet? Have you got to run over by an elephant, or is it 1, 2, or 3? That's great. But it's quite annoying. I think you need to flip it from the prospect side of things, like what's in it for them. But I think there's another level, which is there's a bunch of natural social things that we do as human beings that are like socially acceptable. Like it's totally acceptable for when I walk into a bar for the bartender to like, and I'm standing there at the bar, the bartender to kind of like throw me like a, you know, a coaster and say, what do you want? You know, like lean into it. And like when my drink's kind of maybe halfway empty, to come over and go, hey, do you want me to get another one going? Like that's not salesy. Like that's a totally natural interaction. And so we're certainly not bartenders at Culture Amp. I wish we were, but that's not the case. We've been reflecting on other interactions that are natural. So what we do is we ship a book, like to a prospect, or give a gift. Or we have events or webinars and we invite them along. And then we ask them, did you get the book?
Interesting. Yeah.
And the only goal is to, like, literally with a 3-step process, and that's step 1. And step 2 is shut up and wait until they say thank you.
Ah, interesting.
And they say thank you. And then we say, hey, the book's about employee engagement. That's what we do. And I'd love to hear how you do it at Coca-Cola. Is now a bad time to chat. So like I've gifted that micro interaction we've designed is a give. They say thank you. For a minute now, I'm not a sales guy. I've given them something, and now I'm going to ask them for something. And then if it's a good time, they'll probably give me 5 minutes. And then we need to now we're in the conversation. But you think about the follow-up on the backside of that, you know, I think it's totally normal for me if I don't connect or you don't pick up or you don't reply to my email, like to circle back again. I mean, it's a $30 gift. I want to just make sure it got to the address that I sent it to. Mm-hmm. That's a normal interaction. Now I can probably do that for like another week, and then it's like kind of like annoying. Mm-hmm. And then I just got to find another normal interaction that would be a thing, like, you know, a dinner or an event or some other give to circle back on. And then there's a point at where you kind of got to drop it. So if we're trying to do, you know, if we balance the activity goal of like, say, you know, 14 touches or, you know, 12 touches in 2 weeks or whatever it is, like it's a pretty high frequency. It's a lot of times to be, you know, if you have 14 touches, like that's a lot of emails saying you want a demo. It's like not cool. But if I have a book, you know, I can probably do 3 or 4 or 5 touches around the book thing. Mm-hmm. And then I have another thing, which like a dinner or a webinar or whatever, I can probably bang in another 3 or 4 or 5 touches, and it's still like normal. Like when you sit at a bar and you say, no, I'm cool for a drink, it's kind of normal for the bartender to come back and say, hey, you sure about that? Like, you know, and then it becomes annoying. So I think to kind of look back and talk about the activity goal and the experience goal, thinking about what are those anchor experiences in your campaign mm-hmm. that you can get 4 or 5 touches around and it's not kind of weird, like not annoying.
Got it. So it sounds like
kind of makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So that is amazing. I think like you can tell you put a lot of time into like what you haven't mentioned yet is finding the right person, right? So like you find the right person at Coca-Cola, and there's a whole, you know, we could talk about that for hours about how to do that. It sounds like you're doing more account-based marketing than anything
100%.
else.
100%. Yeah.
And then you have that experience number 1, which is the book. And I'm getting chills because like that's the best way to use marketing collateral, right? Like go send them something.
No one does it anymore.
It's just like exact. And that's actually another thing. Is like, okay, how many emails do you get? How much mail do you get? Like a package from someone you don't know, and you're like surprised, right? So like any email you have, like any annoyance for a week or maybe 4 or 5 touches is not countered by the fact that like they got something and they're probably like, how did I get this? Who do I talk to, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then you have another experience like the dinner or like some other form of value. And I think that give-ask ratio, from what I heard is like you can ask something enough times. You can ask for things, but you have to give value first, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it needs to be like the thing I like that we've been kind of struggling with is what we struggled with initially was it was like, and I think, don't get me wrong, I think this is an important part, but not in the really, it's a tough thing. Like hey, I noticed that you just had a merger and acquisition. We've helped several companies deal with that challenge. They mostly had problems amalgamating cultures. Like, how are you addressing that? Or do you want a demo on how we can help? You know, there's value there, I'm just trying to think about it a bit. It's hard to scale that well. Yep. This is why I've kind of like passing it out. Like, it's not what I'm thinking now. This is great. We're having this conversation. Is like, it's not that SP3O situation, problem, third party story, offer piece, like specific to the trigger or on the account. I think you have to have that. That's great.
Yep.
But I think what I'm talking about here is the very top of the prospecting campaign, just to get that like time, that 5 minute to like drop that stuff. Like, you need to get, so you got to stay persistent at the top side without being annoying. And that's why I think like having these standardized experiences in your campaign that you can stitch on the backside, like of a book thing, you can do maybe 3 emails, 2 phone calls, maybe 1 or 2 LinkedIn messages. I can do like 7 messages across 3 channels just about the book. And then I can do another 7 about the dinner or whatever. And then that's the good thing about that is you can teach like standard plays to the team. And that's how you get scalability, is because, you know, we're sending 300 books a month right now. And that's, you know, 7 touches, you know, per contact. And it's like, that kind of like, it's good and scalable, and it maintains, it matches your kind of that you need to scale activity, but the experience is still really solid, you know. Whereas I find when you dig down to the like the research level, where you've got like unique propositions for every single person, you got to do that stuff, but like it's harder to, it's a little harder to scale, I think.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you're saying it's a channel. It's like you're not just saying it's email follow-ups. You're including, well, first of all, like you start with that experience, or like almost excuse to give value.
Right.
Follow-up email. There's a phone touch somewhere in there.
Yeah.
There's LinkedIn touch. You know, can you get them on Facebook or Twitter? Anything, right?
Yeah.
Then there's that, like, okay, you do that enough times, and then you move on to the next experience.
Yes.
That's very, very interesting. I think like that's, to me, I'm like, again, I have chills because I'm like, this is how I think outbound sales should be done.
Yeah.
Value, follow up in different channels based off that value to make sure you've got the right person or whatever. Yeah. And then value number 2 or experience number 2 and follow up. And how many times can you pull that experience off? Do you know?
How many what, sorry?
How many different experiences do you guys try to design?
Really, like we're trying to do like, our cadence would run like a month and a half. So we'll cycle 50 accounts per person, like per team member, with 3 contacts per account. And so they'll get through all that, and then we'll drop the next bunch of books. And, but then we'll circle back. So we'll recycle, like put that account on ice for a little bit and maybe pick it up again in 6 months, and we're, you know, kind of keep cranking. But yeah, I think your point about the omni-channel, I think that's the other tension you want to do. I want to hit this person, like, or, you know, get in front of them like 20 times or 13 times. But like the definition of spam for me is like, how many times are you contacting someone on one channel, like email? If you get 20 emails from someone in 2 weeks, like that's like total spam. Like that, I'm going to press the spam button. Yeah. I've got a couple of those people, I don't know about you, who hit me up like that. It's just not cool. But if you like do the 20 across the 4 channels, that's, you know, that's only, you know, 4 or 5 touches over 2 weeks per channel. I mean, if you do 15, it's only 3. It's like pretty reasonable. Like, it's not like I get 3 emails from this person over 2 weeks. Like that's not totally cool.
Yeah. And even like LinkedIn or phone, it's like
spread it out.
It's spread out. And if you have, that totally makes sense. So I love that fact. And I think that's the key to successful outbound, is that tools, software aside, I think the premise should be value, experience, and then follow up and figure out kind of the cadence. And we can talk probably for another time. I want to pick your brain on like how you go about the systems and processes you guys use to go and find those prospects in the first place, because that's a whole other ball game.
It is, yeah. That's a whole nother ball game for sure. You know, I think we've got a bit of work to do there. I think we do a good job. You know, like basically we've got pretty simple sourcing at the moment. It's like industries, we look at like won deals, industries we've done well, segment size, We definitely cut segment size at deals that are like $30,000 plus, because, you know, we're obviously putting a lot of firepower behind these campaigns, and that costs money. So we want to make sure we get that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You make the ROI there.
You know, what's interesting is that, like, you guys are talking about like high contract value deals.
Yep.
I think a lot of what you've said here can be applied to more volume based deals or lower contract value deals, where you can replace that book with maybe a t-shirt, maybe something else, right? Maybe that's just in your actual email. You send them a PDF, right? And so now you've got marketing content, and you can replace the dinner with a webinar. And, you know, so I think, but the premise is value, and then follow up based off that value. So
yeah, totally.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for your time. Where can people find you? Where do they go?
I guess Twitter, Dan T. Murphy at, on Twitter. So, but yeah, like, hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever. Happy to I love talking about this stuff.
All day long. I remember, like, I've had so many calls with you. I'm on my patio, I think, in the evening. I'm like, Dan, I've got this problem on the sales side. So it's awesome to hear kind of a few years later the process that you have. So thanks again. And we'll be in touch.
Perfect. Good to chat, Sujin.